Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to once again be taking a look into the far future. So I have done this in previous videos where we take a look often quite far into the future, and we will be going quite far in this video, looking ahead to some future events that are going to occur. The last event that we took a look at was such an interesting one that we only looked at one event in the entire video. That's not usually the case. Generally, I try to take a look at several different events, at least two in any given video. In today's video, we are looking forward to 2080, and we are looking forward to March 15th. And I never know exactly what I'm going to find when I go forward to these future dates. I think it's best to reveal them, show my first impression of seeing whatever the event may be as it happens. I do, of course, get informed of some things. It's quite strange looking back at the March sky with Betelgeuse and Orion with Gemini up so high as the sun sets instead of seeing them just as they come up in the morning. Those aren't the constellations we're looking for. I was told on 2080, on the 15th of March, to look towards the constellation of Capricorn. So Capricorn, given that Capricorn is rising around the time the sun is setting, it's up above the horizon when the sun sets at the moment. In real time, I'm recording this during August. So we're going to have to move forward towards morning time at least. Capricornus must be reasonably close to the sun. And of course, there is Mars very close to Antares, which is always nice to see. So here must be Scorpius. We've got Ophiuchus up there, which means that Capricorn is around here somewhere. Now, unfortunately, we don't need to worry about finding Capricorn, do we? Unfortunately, the stars in the constellation of Capricorn are quite faint and they don't make a very distinct shape. There is a sort of a triangle shape, but it's always very low to the horizon, almost always low to the horizon here in Ireland. But we don't need to worry about finding the constellation Capricorn. We're looking for something cool in the sky, and it looks like we've already found it here, with Jupiter and Saturn in a very close conjunction. We are looking at this originally. It looks particularly nice because Jupiter and Saturn are so close together. We can resolve the lunar systems of both planets in one field of view here. Now, of course, this would be almost impossible to achieve with a telescope. Most telescopes, their field of view simply isn't going to be wide enough while also providing enough magnification. Although we're almost getting it there, almost, and this is from Ireland. I almost always begin these views from Ireland, and being as far north as we are, the angle at which we see the planets isn't always ideal. Closer to the equator, the planets rise higher in the sky, and you get to see them in a little bit more darkness. Let's get rid of the labels of the names here, just to make sure. And here we go. So this is with quite a big telescope, Meade ETX 90. So that's 90 millimeters or so across in aperture. A reasonably big, not crazy big, but a reasonably big telescope. And here we can see Jupiter. We can see some of Jupiter's moons. We can see Saturn, and we can see Titan. Absolutely, that is Titan. So this is a pretty amazing view coming up in 2080, and it's a pretty amazing view even under these less than ideal circumstances, viewing them so close to sunrise, so close to the horizon here in Ireland. In fact, if we take a click on Saturn here, you can see it is being quite severely reduced in magnitude by reduced by 2 steps of magnitude, and magnitude is a logarithmic scale, so that's much more than just a factor of 2, more than just twice. That's quite a lot. We can see there's quite a lot of air masses in the way. We'll pull back out, and they are visible to the naked eye. But we're going to move through a little bit of time before we change location. Changing location will almost certainly get us a better view of this close conjunction. And due to the speeds at which these planets move, we're not going to see too much of a change over short periods of time. Yeah, we can see there, this is pretty much there on the 15th and there on the 16th. That's pretty much as good as we're going to see them. Here on the 15th is a little bit better. Of course, I started with sunset on the 15th and ended up moving into the morning of the 16th. 15th is what I was told to look for, and I can see why. This is even better. We've got all 4 moons, all 4 of the Galilean moons of Jupiter. Of course, Jupiter has many more moons than that. Let's just quickly take a look while we're here. We can see a couple of them there. Last count, I believe Jupiter has around 90 moons, whereas Saturn has now crossed over the century mark to over 100 moons. We can see some of Saturn's moons there as well, but of course Saturn much further away from us than Jupiter. So even though we're seeing them here in a similar field, Saturn is far, far behind Jupiter in this instance. It is almost a zigzaggy, 3 planetary objects in a row. Of course, that's counting the Earth in this one, but they're not quite in a row. They are on a slightly different plane. They're slightly different on the ecliptic, but we should be able to draw a straight line through the Earth, Jupiter, and Saturn if we were looking at a flat 2D top-down representation of the solar system, or perhaps from some other angle. But in 3 dimensions, they don't really line up. You can see here that we're seeing Jupiter almost over Saturn. So this is good. This is quite an impressive conjunction. It looks particularly nice. But we're going to have a hop around just to see if we can see it a little bit better. We're going to start by going to the equator, because of course things will be much higher above the sky in the equator. I almost always click around here. Some of you who've been watching my videos have probably noticed that when I'm trying to find the equator, I don't always click on land. There is a point just here where the hemispheres line up. We're directly on the prime meridian and directly on the equator. Somewhere around here, of course, I'm clearly a few degrees off, but pretty close. We won't move on to dry land for now. We'll keep things in line pretty much with where we would have been here in Ireland, more or less, and we'll just go close enough to the equator. We won't come too much higher than that for now, just so that we can see these planets rising more directly above the horizon. And of course, we've got Mercury and Venus there as well. We saw Mars earlier. There it is. So this is Mars, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn all in a row, all in a line, and the moon. Uranus is probably out there somewhere as well. I thought I saw Uranus earlier while we were zooming in. I did. I wouldn't be surprised if Neptune wasn't too far away either, perhaps down here somewhere. But maybe we'll take a quick look for Neptune in a moment's time. For now, though, here we are looking at these things in an incredible level of darkness because we're down at the equator. We are still simulating our view from the city, even though the ocean off the coast of West Africa is going to be a pretty perfect dark sky, given that there won't be any light pollution in the middle of the ocean. We won't simulate that just in case. I just want to show the way in which they're rising so much higher above the horizon that we're able to see them in darkness. And look at this. Okay, with a big telescope, 10 inches aperture, MEDAL X200, we can see several members of Saturn's system of moons here, as well as Jupiter's. Dare we go a little further? Okay, that brings Jupiter into view, but it brings Saturn out of view. Now, the only reason that I'm able to do this, to look at these planets free, as it were, without losing track of them at this magnification, is because time is paused. If time was actually running, as you can see at this level of magnification, the drift is perceptible. The Earth is turning. We're turning away from these planets, so you have to keep chasing them. But that may be worth it. Here we are seeing Jupiter's stripes and a little bit, I hope you can see that, a little bit of Saturn's rings, all in one go. So of course this is way forward in 2080, and it looks like I have spent an entire video looking at just one event yet again, but this one is another very, very impressive one. Just to see how much of a difference it makes. We're here on the prime meridian on the 15th. Let's see what happens if we go to a different longitude or longitude or however you'd like to pronounce it, just to see if that makes a difference to how we're perceiving their relative positions. Of course, Jupiter and Saturn are incredibly, incredibly far away from us, so moving across the surface of the Earth isn't going to change our perspective on Saturn and Jupiter by that much. If we try and make a triangle by moving, a few thousand kilometers across the Earth or a few hundred kilometers across the Earth, that when you stretch out that triangle so that the point is way out here by Jupiter and Saturn, it's going to be pretty close to a straight line when its base is just a few hundred kilometers and its peak is on the order of hundreds of millions of kilometers. Those factors, they would make for a very tight triangle. But it looks like it doesn't make too much of a difference. Even though we are after changing time zone, we are after moving across the surface of the Earth, it looks like pretty much everywhere on the surface of the Earth, especially if you're around the equator here. And I know that down around here, is quite a populous area close to the equator, so that maximizes the chance of people being able to see it. And here we are, really the morning on 2080, even if it wasn't for this conjunction, is going to be fantastic if you're at the equator. I don't know if we'll be able to see Mercury and Venus from here in Ireland, but I will go back and double check. We can see that things look like they're happening at a slightly different angle here if we go through the dates with a planet selected so that things don't run away from us. The planets are still pretty much at their closest at the 15th. Now, of course, for some area of the planet, it will be sunrise as these planets reach their very, very closest in the sky. So if I take away the atmosphere, we can see that happening as we move through time, how they kind of line up a little bit better and then move off to the side. Of course, that's the ground getting in the way. We can also see the speed at which those moons are moving. So from different parts of the planet, all looking at sunrise, but for different subjective sunrises, you're going to have the moons in different positions as well, which is going to lead to some pretty nice photographs. And this is already becoming a longer video, but I do want to come back to the default location. I don't think we're going to have much chance of seeing Venus at least. Maybe we'll see Mercury, but the angles are very much against us here. So we've got Mars, we've got Jupiter, we've got Saturn, we've maybe got Mercury. Maybe. Perhaps this would be achievable in the countryside rather than in the city. But let's take a closer look down here at the horizon, just over in the east, and we'll run through time, hopefully not too fast. Okay, so Venus and Mercury, it looks like they're not going to be visible. Partly, I'm sure, because of the extinction of the atmosphere, partly because of the light of the sun. But we have that very close conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. From here in Ireland, it's going to look something like this. And this isn't very achievable with the telescope. But that is a nice conjunction that's coming up a little bit further in the future. I do hope that you get a chance to see it. We will come back to the present time in the next video and take a look at some things that are happening in August. But here is a preview of something very, very far in the future. And if you're not planning on getting up early in the morning in 2080, now you don't have to. We've already had a preview here. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. If you'd like to see more from me, then you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can also visit my website, queebeanscontent.ie, where I have some of this information written down. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.